Good morning, everyone. Glad to have you with us today. The professor of literacy studies at The Ohio State University, Dr. Elaine Richardson, will share her memoir with us this morning. She'll discuss her new book, Ph.D. to Ph.D., How Education Saved My Life. It is quite a story. Good morning, I'm Leon Bibb. This is Kaleidoscope, and so we begin with Elaine Richardson, Ph.D. from Ohio State University. Good to have you with us, Dr. Richardson.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good to be
what do you
here.
teach? What do you teach at Ohio State University?
I'm in literacy studies. Basically, I teach about literacy studies and diversity. So how you teach language and reading and writing from a culturally diverse perspective.
And
so you have to take the identity and the culture and the history of the people that you're teaching into account.
You've got your Ph.D.
I do.
We've talked about that a little bit just before we started this broadcast. But you also, the name of your book is Ph.D. to Ph.D.
Yes.
What's the first Ph.D. mean on the title?
Po-ho on dope to Ph.D.
Po-ho on dope.
And so that's the vernacular pronunciation of whore. Ho.
Because before you got into this lifestyle that you have now, this wonderful life that you were a prostitute.
Yes, I was turned out at a very young age. I was raped at 13, and that just started me on a downward spiral. I had very low self-esteem, and I just got involved with a string of pimps.
You grew up here in Cleveland.
Cleveland, Ohio, on East 68th and Cedar on the east side. Yes.
But then something happened, and you wanted to change your life.
Yes.
How did you, what happened to make you to get off the street as a prostitute, to get off of drugs, and to get out of that lifestyle of working with a pimp? What changed? What changed?
I had a lot of mentors. I had a lot of people that, especially my mother, I never want to forget that my mother never gave up on me. My mother always ran behind me when I was in junior high school, when I was cutting school, when I got raped, when I got pregnant. My mother always tried to just run behind me. She never threw me away. But eventually, I met a professor at Cleveland State University, Dr. Andrew Edwards, who had a program called Project Second Chance, and it was for young women who had been sexually exploited. And I was getting out of the Justice Center one day, and I saw a flyer that talked about this program, Project Second Chance. And so he was one of the people that sold into my life.
And you began to put your life together and getting college education and more college education to eventually...
It was rocky, though. I don't want it to sound like I just went one time and then it was a struggle, you know. It was a struggle.
What you're saying, how education saved my life in your book, Ph.D. to Ph.D.
Learning about who you are. I didn't know who I was, and so people can tell you anything about yourself when you don't know who you are. So I learned who I was. I learned to respect my family. My mother was a Jamaican immigrant, and when you're a young child, you don't want to be different from your friends. You want to fit in with your peers. And so we spoke funny to them. You know, kids would say, "Why does your mama talk funny? You know, where y'all from? Your mama from Puerto Rico?" And that was a point of shame for me because I wasn't like my friends. My parents were older, so I had all these little things that were chinks in my identity and in my armor. And with that, and just growing up in a poor, poverty-stricken environment, it took a toll on my identity. And I was very susceptible to be wanting to be liked by the wrong people.
How do you use your story to help shape the lives of young people today, especially at Ohio State University, where you are Ph.D. and teaching literacy? How do you use your life to help others?
I have an after-school program at a middle school because that is a very vulnerable age. I train my Ph.D. students by having them to be literacy mentors at the after-school program, and I work with girls, 11 through 14 years old, because that is the age where girls are looking for their identity. And they're thinking about all types of things, and they're getting all kinds of images from the media about who they are. They're listening to all kinds of music, and they are wanting to be, you know, adults. They're seeking to grow into young women. All of that is a part of your education. And so we use media, we use reality television shows, because this is what the children are watching.
And you use your own music
and I
too?
use my own music.
You've got a CD
stories
here.
from my life to tell them about things that I've gone through, and they've heard some of these stories through the music that they listen to, from the videos that they watch, from the television shows that they watch. And so we have them to critically think about, what is this saying about you as a young black girl?
Well, what do you say in your music? How do you the songs that you select?
I talk about going through struggles and coming out of them. One of the main songs on my CD is called Elevated. And so I talk about, you know, I got in trouble, I had to struggle. It took a lot to make it, but now I'm elevated. And that you have to work toward your own self-esteem, that you build your own self-esteem. It's not something somebody can give to you. You get it through accomplishments and achievements that you made.
How many years ago did you decide to change your life and get off the street as a prostitute, get off the drugs?
26 years ago. And I always know it because it's when I had my second daughter. I was pregnant at the time, and I thought that I was pregnant, and I thought that I had killed this baby because I was getting high while I was pregnant. And I called the ambulance on myself, and I wanted them to take me to the hospital to get what I thought was a dead baby out of me. And I went to the hospital, and my baby was not dead. And they didn't wind up putting me in Marysville, which is where I wanted to go, because I thought that's what I had to do to get clean.
Now you use all of your background to tell the story, to help others stay in school, get in school, and find real meaning in life. Where can we find the book, Ph.D. to Ph.D.?
You can go to my website, PhD2PhD.com.
And we can also make a phone call. There's a telephone number on everything we've been talking about.
Yes.
Area code 614-292-4382, as you see at the bottom of the screen. You can get more information on that and on Dr. E Elevated. And they call you Dr. E, don't they?
Dr. E. My students call me Dr. E.
Dr. E. Dr. Elaine Richardson.
Yes.
It's a long way from the old Ph.D. to the present day Ph.D.
Yes. Praise God.
Praise God indeed. Thank you so much for your inspiring story.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's quite a story. There's the phone number on the screen, 614-292-4382. Thank you, Dr. E. Nice.